on YouTube. I wanted to come in and do a quick movie review of the movie 47 Meters Down. So last Memorial Day, my husband and I, we went to go see The Shallows, and it was actually pretty good. You know, I'm a fan of Jaws and Deep Blue Sea and you know, situations where people just force themselves into to get killed. So I thought that this movie would be a great movie to go see, and give it to YouTube and tell you what my reaction and what my feedback was about the movie. So I'm just gonna go through what happened in the movie, and then I'm gonna give my own interpretation of the movie. So it starts out like any other horror movie, or actually any other vacation gone wrong. They're in Mexico. We find out they're two sisters. They're in Mexico. They're enjoying themselves. One sister just had a bad breakup, and in my opinion, she didn't need to be with him anyway. He was holding her back, but she's having a bad breakup, and she's on this Mexico trip to prove to him that she does like to have fun, and that she's just as, you know, sporadic as he is. So the sister, the more outgoing, the more extroverted sister is like, hey, let's go out. She's like, it's 1 a.m. She's like, everybody else in this Mexico City is out except us. So they go out and they meet these guys and they take them on a date. So they come back to the room and they're like, hey, we should totally go deep sea diving with the sharks. Mistake number one. So the extroverted sister, Sarah's her name. It's Sarah and Lisa. Those are the sisters' names. And the Sarah's like, come on, we should do this. You can prove to Stuart finally that you are just as fun as he is, etc., etc. And I'm like, well, we got to prove anything to Stuart. There's a million and one ways to prove that you are an extrovert other than swimming with some sharks. But needless to say, that didn't happen. We wouldn't have a movie. So they each pay 100 pesos a piece to go swim with these sharks, and it's real shady. They get to the dock, and it's just a picture of a shark on a boat. The two guys they met from Mexico, and then the captain. So they take this raggedy boat out, this rusty, dusty, tetanus-infected boat out into the middle of the deep blue ocean, and they start pouring blood and fish heads into the water to attract the sharks. So the two guys go first. The two guys that they want to date with, they go first. They're down there for like 10 minutes. And mind you, the girls done lied to the captain. One of them had been certified as a diver, and the other one hadn't. So when he's going through the technical terms of what they should be checking for as far as their gauge and how to, what was the word he used? How to decompress and, I forgot the word, but whenever you feel dizzy, to hold your head back and swallow, that's how you center yourself back. So yeah, obviously I haven't taken a diving course, so it's their turn. The guys come back up, they're like, oh, it's amazing, you know, you're gonna have a great time. So the girls get in, and it's just a slow build up. We all know in the pit of our stomach this is not ending well. And you know how with any horror movie, it's always 1,000,001 red flags and 1,000,001 stops where they could have made a decision to turn around. But of course, if they take those or heed to those warnings, we wouldn't have a good movie or a movie. So the girls get into the cage, and the guy hands one of them the camera, and he's like, if you drop my camera, we're going to have a problem. Or, you know, sarcastically, we're going to have a problem. So they get down there, and they get to seeing all the fish. She's like, it's amazing. And they can hear them through their mask, their air mask. And the guy tells them that they have 200 bar. 200 bar is the amount of air they have in each tank. When it gets down to 50 bar, they need to come on up, because that's when they get to the danger zone of running out of air. So they're down there, and they're like, oh, look at the fish. And then all of a sudden, you see this big 25-foot shark. And she's like, I dare you to pet it. Anyway, girls. So, the sister goes, can you take a picture of me? And the girl hands her the camera, and Ditsy Dixie Danielle drops the camera. They go to reach for the camera. The shark that came up and swallowed the camera. It's time to go. That's exactly what the sister said. Okay, we're gonna go. Let's go up. The sister's like, no, let's a couple more minutes. So as they're raising them back up into the surface, the wire breaks. And it breaks all the way. It just rips the crane completely out of the boat. They fall 47 meters down to the ground, to the bottom of the ocean. And the crane lands on top of the cage, and they're not able to push it open. The sister had to take her mask off, her air supply off, just to get through an opening through the cage. Just all kind of risk. So the reason they did that to get out the cage was they didn't have any interception or reception to hear the captain up on the surface. So she had to swim up a couple of meters so she can get a signal. So they were doing that, and he's telling them, stay calm, stay in the cage, because that's probably the safest place. Even though you may be running low on air, that's probably the best bet, considering that you're swimming around with sharks. So the sister, actually, that went to go swim up, she's the extroverted one that wanted to take the diving lessons. She actually comes encounter with one of the sharks, and she actually panics, and she doesn't get eaten, but she uses a lot of air because she's hyperventilating and she's scared. So it's very imperative that they now get some air. So they sent down one of the deckhands that was with the captain, and of course he got ate up, child. He didn't stand a chance. He came down there to latch on the cable cord, and that didn't make it. But the sister that wasn't who was more introverted, and that went through the breakup, went to go find out what was this flashlight flashing in the water, because she thought it was him. They couldn't see them. So she done went out into the abyss of the ocean looking for this guy. And she finds him. He's chopped up. He's done. But she finds the cord. So she takes the cord back and latches onto the cage, and they pull him back up. Only, and they're down there, their count meters 28, 27, 26, going up vertically. All of a sudden that rope snapped, and they go right back down to the bottom. Not only back to the bottom, but the cage lands on the girl's leg because she's stuck. And they're running out of air. So then the captain sends down some air tanks. And he said the reason he didn't do that in the first place, because if you inhale too much of that air, you can get nitrogen poisoning or start hallucinating. So he told the one sister that could hear him, but the other sister didn't know, the one that was stuck on the cage. So the sister, she's about to run out of air, so she panically switches her air valve to the next tank, so she gets air, and she's on her way to take the tank back to the sister. On her way taking her tank out to the sister, she comes in encounter with another shark. As far as we know, she got snatched up by the shark. So the sister, the introverted sister, still in the cage with her legs stuck, about to run out of air. She takes a harpoon gun, and in the midst of her trying to get that gun, she slices her hand open, but she's able to get the harpoon and latch it on to the air tank so she can change her air tank out. So she's sitting there, I gotta do something. So she inflates her floaty, and that lifts the cage up a little bit, and she hears her sister. She gets a signal from her sister. She thought her sister was gone. So she goes and finds her. She finds her sister, and her sister has a bad shark bite. And they decide, said, we can't wait for the captain told them the Coast Guard is going to come within an hour. What is the Coast Guard doing? They got all kind of time to find drugs and stuff. It's going to take them an hour to save some lives, what they're trained to do. So they they decide we need to swim to the top because she's bleeding real bad, and all that's going to do is attract more sharks. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, dang, that's a lot of blood. Where the sharks at? And I said, it was just mighty convenient that she was able to find her sister. I said, I bet she's hallucinating, but I ain't been confirmed. Also, I'm thinking, like, are these men and a captain doing this for like a show, some money, like they film this and they sell it to people? I don't know. It's just a lot of questions, a lot of speculation. So, child, these girls start swimming to the top of the surface, and then he tells them you have to go slow, because if you go fast, if you ascend too fast, the nitrogen bubbles can get in your brain. It will kill you. It's called bends. You'll get benzed. So they're swimming to the top, and they got flares to ward off the sharks. Child, they had 3 flares. Dixie Dan drops one of the flares, of course. Then they used 2 flares. Then, when the last one went out, you see their asses are surrounded by 4 or 5 sharks. Do you hear me? I hollered. What would you do? You're in the middle of the ocean with 4 or 5. I mean, those sharks were circling them. So somehow, somewhere, they made it up to the top. They trying to get up, and there's that suspenseful scene where they're reaching for the boat and they're falling back down. One of the sharks grabs the sister by the leg, brings her down, and she gouges his eye out to get away. So they both pull him up. They're laying head by head, side by side, but in the opposite direction. And the girl that slid her hand on a harpoon, she's like, oh, that's where you can see the blood floating in the air. That's where I said, golly, that girl's hallucinating. Sure, shit stinks. She's thinking that they've been saved. She right back at the bottom of the ocean, who get high as a bat's ass on this nitrogen, with her legs stuck under the cage. I'm like, that's too bad right there. You just think, you ever had that dream where you felt so accomplished, or you've had that dream where you brushed your teeth and got up and got dressed all to find out that you're still laying in the bed thinking about getting up? That's a bad deal. So the movie ends where she hears the captain and he's telling her the Coast Guard's on his way. She's hallucinating. They come and they free her from the bottom of the cage, and all you see is her and the Coast Guard are rising to the surface. And that's the end. So we don't know where her sister is. We don't know and they didn't take her mask off, or they didn't ascend slowly so that they wouldn't get binged. It had a good build up, but it was a build up to nothing. Like a Sixth Sense director movie. What's his name? I can't remember his name, but just a whole bunch of build up. And one person got 8, but other than that, the shark scenes were a dream sequence. So that was my review of 47 Meters Down. I mean, if you have $3 or $4 to waste, I wouldn't pay full price for this movie, but it's something to do. I think it's a nice date movie, just something to cuddle up with and jump in someone's arms when they do the shock factors in the movie. M. Night Shyamalan, that's his name. M. Night Shyamalan movie. All this build up. And well, I hope y'all enjoyed the review. My name is Miss Moffat. I'm sitting on topics, ready to spill the tea and tell the gossip. Like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time.